Hello all and welcome, and I am the MGTOW philosopher, and in this video I would like to talk about what we as men owe society. Now I think this is a good question because lately I've been noticing a lot of videos from non-MGTOW preaching about how MGTOW need to stop playing video games, stop wasting time doing whatever it is we do when we're not working, and just get with a woman and have kids already. Because we as men owe a debt to society, and we must therefore repay that debt by contributing to society in the form of kids who will then carry on our genes into the future and enable society to continue. I have a few problems with this type of mindset. First off, it's 100% socialism. When you tell me that I owe society, what you're really saying is that I owe a bunch of people I have never met. Because we all just happen to live in the same country and are all part of the same society. But society is not something that exists separate from the people that are a part of it, nor is it a thing that is. It's just another name for people occupying the same place, more or less. Now, this is an important distinction that people need to understand. So you see, society is not a thing. People are a thing, and society is made up of people, but all those people are individuals. We are not some sort of collective. Society is not some separate entity that exists once enough people exist to create it. And by the way, what's the magic number needed to create a collective anyway? 2, 22, 100,000? Society is not a synonym for a collective. Collectives do exist, but society isn't one of them. So that's my first problem with this argument. Presenting society as some kind of amorphous organism that's a force unto itself that I owe something to. That's bullshit. At the very least, I might possibly owe something to people who help me grow, develop, and learn as a person. But even that's bullshit and brings me to my second problem. And that's this. I automatically owe everyone else in the freaking country? Really? Why? Because everyone somehow collectively contributes to everyone else, and because I myself have benefited from all those services? So essentially what these people mean when they say you owe society is that now I've become successful. Now that I've become successful, I somehow owe everyone else in some way, shape, or form. This logic is flawed on so many levels. For example, the communist Obama gave a speech once about how there's a certain point where you've made enough money. I believe 20 million was the number he gave, and how you don't need any more than that, implying that you should just give away anything over that arbitrary number. By the way, it's funny how he got paid 60 million bucks for his latest book deal, but I haven't heard anything about how much of that money he gave to charity. I mean, I wonder if he gave any of that away. I wonder if he gave away 40 million to charity, since all people should need, by his own words, is 20 million maximum, right? Anyhow, he then went on to strongly imply that people owe every part of society because everyone has helped everyone else become the success that they currently are. He then went on to add that you as a person didn't get successful on your own. Oh no. The people who build and maintain the roads, for example, helped you to get to work or to school so that you could make money. Hence, you owe them. And your teachers from school gave you the knowledge which you then went on to use to become successful. So, of course, you owe them as well. And let us not forget your school librarian who handed you the books to get the knowledge which helped you become successful. And of course, let's not forget the teller at the drive-thru who hands you your Big Mac, which fuels you and enables you to go about your day and make gobs of cash that you should then turn around and gladly give back to them, along with anyone else who somehow aided you along the way. So essentially, just by existing in this world and being assisted in some way, shape, or form, or just having day-to-day interactions with others, this means that you automatically owe pretty much everyone, regardless of whether or not they have already been paid in tax dollars. Really? And this brings me to my second problem. Owing, my third problem really, owing not only implies that some kind of agreement has been made between two parties, but it also implies payment has not yet been given or received for the services rendered. For example, how do I owe any of these people when they're all getting paid to do their jobs? Wouldn't I only owe them if I entered into an agreement within which I had agreed to pay them in exchange for their services? Or they were not somehow being paid by someone else? And even if they were not, wouldn't I only owe them something if I entered into a voluntary transaction with them? And isn't that what my parents did when I was a kid going to school? by paying taxes for me to go to school? And don't I pay a gas tax that maintains the roads? So how does this you owe society narrative hold any water? Of course, it's just a stupid and dangerous narrative, because if you follow it to its logical conclusion, what you end up with is everyone owing everyone else. I owe the supermarket because they provided me with food. I already paid for the food, but that doesn't matter. Yeah, I paid, but that food fed me and gave me the energy to go out and make money, so they're partly responsible for helping me to be a success, right? So naturally, I should go and give the supermarket more money, along with the farmers that supply the supermarket with their food. Yeah, any extra money I have beyond what I need shouldn't just go into the bank. Should it? Oh no, I should just dole it out to everyone I owe, which is literally everyone in the freaking world, or at the very least everyone in my home country, right? And could someone please tell me how much of that $60 million that Obama got for his book deal actually went to charity? Huh? Anybody? And the same goes for every other service that I receive or goods that I buy. Every single one of those goods and services provides me with what I need to make money and live my life. So if there's a surplus and I have money left over, who should I give it to? Those same people I've already paid once already, or who have already been paid with tax dollars? So let me get this straight. All people should pay what is essentially a gratitude tax to everyone else who provides them with goods and services, essentially an extra fee tacked on based on whatever surplus income I make. Are you kidding me? And what if I make no surplus income? What if I don't contribute anything? And what if those who can't contribute are the ones that I'm encouraged to give to, because the amorphous blob that is society is one organism and everybody in it is a part of it, don't you know? So in turn, I should just give my extra income to the needy instead of those who helped me out along the way, but who got paid one way or another, either by me or by tax dollars, because I owe them, even though they've been paid, but they don't need it, but the needy need it. And they are all one and the same, don't you know, as they all belong to the blob that is society. So since I owe society, meaning the people in it, best to give what I owe to those who need it, even though I owe different people, but not really. However, since they're all part of the same blob, i.e. collective, they're all interchangeable. So give to those with the most needs, since you owe it to the blob anyway, which is the people who helped you in some way or another, even though you already paid them. What? Does that make any sense to you? It sure is interesting, by the way, how the blob becomes individuals that you can then owe something to when it's convenient, and then it morphs back into an amorphous blob whenever it comes to who you owe. Yeah. Owing a debt to society, the blob, sure sounds a lot like communism to me. And this communism seems to speak to relationships as well. Yes, we now have relationship communism. People have helped you, women have helped you, so you owe it to women to marry them and give them your surplus shit. Because, hey, a woman gave birth to you and at some point was one of your teachers, and your mother was a woman and she raised you, so now you owe all women and who make up the blob, and especially if they themselves are a blob. Something which is so often the case when dealing with feminists, i.e. fat cultural Marxists. Yeah, I think I'll pass. The other big problem and flaw in this already horrible premise of society being a whole singular entity that everyone owes something to just by existing is the flip side of that coin, meaning that if you do poorly in life, then isn't society also to blame for that? I mean, if society is responsible for your success by contributing in various ways to it, then by the same token, is it not also responsible for your failures? In turn, wouldn't society then owe you for the fact that your life has turned out badly? Oh, wait, that's already how things are. Fuck up, and society oppressing you, being sexist, racist, bigoted, whatever. And if you do well, it's privilege, meaning that you owe the blob and should give money to the suckers who got cheated by the very same giant blob that is society, the same blob that somehow benefited you, but is now demanding that you make a bad business deal and give away your freedom and half your shit. Okay. So, I as a man owe it to society to get with a woman and have kids, right? I disagree. Since I pay taxes, and I pay for the shit I buy, and I pay for any services I contract to have done, I conclude that I don't owe the blob jack shit. Nor do I owe anybody else a goddamn thing. You know, this idea of a social contract which exists without me willfully entering into it is complete and utter horseshit. How can I owe other people without any willful transaction or agreement taking place, when everything within the blob that is a society has been bought and paid for, either by tax dollars, along with the tax dollars of others, my tax dollars or other people's tax dollars, or by money right out of my own pocket willfully given? Which, by the way, is what fucking tax dollars are anyway. Minus the willful part, of course. It is all money I am paying out of my own freaking pocket for all the so-called benefits I'm getting, which now make me somehow indebted to the blob that is society? Really? Sounds like the blob owes me, not the other way around. But I don't want anything from it. I just want the blob to leave me the hell alone. Now, honestly, how does anybody at all buy this socialism bullshit? Don't you wonder that? I sure wonder that. Well, the answer is easy. Indoctrination and the promise of free shit. Now, the premise itself that I owe society is totally flawed because it presupposes that A, society is in and of itself something different and separate from the people in it, but also somehow the same. If that was not the case, then when people talk about owing society, they wouldn't use that wording. They would instead say that you owe the people in that society, and not the society itself, which is also wrong, by the way, and much more obviously wrong. And that's why they invoke the sacred blob instead when talking about who you owe. You know, that nameless, faceless thing that can demand of you what a single individual cannot. Same goes for the Obamas of the world and the social justice warriors who use the word society as a stand-in for the word collective, like a hive mind. Yes, it's made up of individuals, but it becomes something else entirely when formed, something that is separate and greater than the individual parts that make it up. And this is why socialism is such a powerful idea. Society is amorphous, faceless, gargantuan. It is too large and faceless for most people to comprehend. So when people make reference to it and the fact that you owe it, well, it's hard to see. It's not hard to see why so many people bow down to its demands. After all, it represents all of us, doesn't it? Right? Wrong. However, for many of us, that is the right way of thinking. For many people, anyway. Not for me, but for many, that is the right way of thinking. The society represents ultimate authority, an authority, a collective, which they are de facto members of and are therefore subject to all its rules and regulations. And one of those rules is that you automatically owe it to society to do certain things. Like, for example, marry a woman and have kids with her. Yeah, so that you can then get divorced within the first 10 years, lose all your shit, and have to work and support 2 households, all the while paying alimony and child support to boot. Meanwhile, you're so freaking busy that you pay no attention whatsoever to what's happening in the world or the society that you are a de facto member of. You can't. You're too freaking busy supporting a family. And then later on, after the divorce, you'll be even busier trying to support 2 households. And even when it was just 1 household, you were too busy to give a crap about anything going on outside of your home. This is another reason why the left likes marriage so much. It costs a lot, creates a lot of debt, and you create kids that they can then indoctrinate because you're too busy to spend much, if any, time with them, and they're too busy, with their 4 hours of homework a night, to spend much of any time with you. It keeps you all so busy that you can't see, much less do anything, about the deconstruction of Western society that is being undertaken by the left right under your freaking nose. No, thank you. I don't owe society a damn thing, or vice versa. Society doesn't owe me a damn thing, and the government only owes me things which my tax dollars have paid for, like intact roads and bridges that won't collapse if I drive across them. Beyond that, no one owes anyone anything. That's something that many people don't seem to understand, that men don't owe society a thing. And by the way, why don't I hear anyone talking about what women owe society? Why isn't anyone telling women to get back in the damn kitchen, put on an apron, and cook some shit for her man? Hell, at the very least, make him a freaking sandwich and clean the fucking house. Why don't I hear that from what are mostly guys who are hating on MGTOW for one reason or another? Why are they not talking about how women are destroying society by abandoning their traditional roles within it? Why is it that only men are being targeted by them and not women? Well, of course, the answer is threefold. 1, they've been indoctrinated to hold the belief that men are the ones who need to sacrifice and slave away and contribute the most to the blob. It is a man's job to make the world work, and he is supposed to be proud of it, don't you know? That no one appreciates his efforts anymore and essentially see him as a joke, and they treat him like shit. Well, that just makes the work all the more of a sacrifice. And maybe the act of contributing is the only thing that makes him feel good anymore. And that brings me to number 2, because he knows he's signed up for a shitty deal, and he resents those who have not done the same. After all, in his mind, he's done the right thing. He's done everything the society expected of him. He got married, he had kids, he gave up his life and his happiness for some miserable old hag, and all he has to show for it is the same miserable old hag that he wishes he could escape. But he knows full well that he couldn't afford to leave her, or vice versa. So he is stuck. And can you imagine what it must feel like to be stuck in a dead-end marriage where there's no escape, where even if you wanted to leave, you couldn't afford it? Or even worse, what if your indoctrination into what it means to be a man makes you stay? I mean, yikes. That's really scary. And 3, because women have been portrayed as victims for so long that most people see them as not owing anything, but instead being the ones whose shit is owed too. Hence, it's a man's job to stick to his traditional tasks as a man, but the woman is not required to do the same for the sake of society because she is a former victim of the blob. And if you believe the left, she still is. So now, men owe it to women to sacrifice, just like women supposedly sacrificed in the past, so they should not be asked to sacrifice now the way men do. Essentially, the argument here is that 2 wrongs actually do make a right. Interesting how that works for you if you're a woman, but not if you're a man. So, of course, if you're a blue-pilled guy who signed up for the shitty deal that's marriage, you'll end up hating MGTOW guys. Of course, we have the life they wish they had. That's why so many cucks and white knight manginas out there go out of their way to try and shame MGTOW into signing up for the same shitty deal that they signed up for. Because in their mind, we either haven't fulfilled our part of the social contract that we apparently sign up for just by being born men, or because they're envious of the freedom we have. I think in most cases, it's a little bit of both. So, do you, as a man, owe it to the blob that is society to get married, have kids, and become quote-unquote responsible, as if we aren't that already? And the answer is an unequivocal no. You don't owe it to the blob to fuck up your life for the sake of others. And anyone who tells you that you do owe a debt to society, well, you can tell them to go fuck themselves. And if they care so much about this so-called debt, that they can go pay it on your behalf, because you don't give a fuck. I am the MGTOW philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.